Howdy, neighbors, horror writers, and movie buffs. We are Sako and the Moon, and we are, yep, that's that guy down there. We are Horrorcraft podcast, but we also do movie reviews. And on Friday, we had a wonderful guest who recommended our movie today. It is Renmeleon. Hello, Renmeleon.
Hello.
I really do enjoy the fact that our movie selection comes from a guest. And we've had a lot of guests this season.
Yeah.
I don't remember the last show that was just us.
The next episode, like next week, is Just Us Again.
I know. Now no one's gonna watch.
I front loaded all our guests. Yeah.
Now no one's gonna watch. It's like it's Sako and then that guy.
I'll be there.
That guy.
No, I love that guy. Shut your face.
That guy loves you too.
Okay.
But no, it's great because now, as we were saying before we got on air, this really leads me to watch movies that I wouldn't otherwise have watched. So I really do love this experience. And one more time, can you let us know, Renmeleon? We're just going to start calling you Ren. That's what we call her anyway. And we'll let her do her intro. And then, so tell everybody who you are again if they haven't watched the show, because you've been on the show like 8 times. Closer to 5, but might as well be 8. Introduce yourself again and tell us why this movie, based on the topic we were discussing Friday.
Okay. So I am Anna Maria Salvaggio. I go by Renmeleon. I've been freelance for 40 years under that name. I am maker of all the things. So I work in several industries. Renmeleon is short for the Renaissance Chameleon. So I'm a nerd of all trades. And as far as Hellboy II, I have a connection with Ron Perlman and have kind of followed his career. So when he did Hellboy, and I love the comics, I was all in. I've seen the other Hellboy movie. I like it too. But the second one, this one had Luke Goss in it, who I had seen from One Night with the King, which is amazing. And can't really give away much more just yet. But if you've seen the movie, I'm just gonna say troll market, because that's a big thing for me. So that was my favorite part.
So we were doing the episode on fairies, and they are so much darker and scarier than I thought, and I love that for them. And the troll market, because we're going to get into all the details, because Sako's going to give us the rundown of how we do this. But the troll market, that's like what a fairy world would be. And then we discussed how you can't really see fairies, and so they needed the special glasses, and like that troll market, that's like how you guys envision like a fairies world.
Kind of like an outdoor market in Marrakesh kind of thing, only it's just for fae.
And everybody, no one was shrunken down except for the Tooth Fairy. We're gonna get into all this stuff in a minute, but no one was shrunken down. I guess that's like instantly where my brain would have went, is that everyone had to like be tiny, like Tinkerbell,
like the borrowers. Nope.
So let's get into this review. Sako, what are we doing here today?
Okay, so we have a 4-star grading system.
4-star.
Yep. We have the theme, we have production, we have writing, and we have characterization. And each category represents a star. Within each category, we have 3 prompts that kind of like get the conversation going, and we can talk about Hellboy II, The Golden Army, 2008.
First time I watched it.
First time you watched it.
This is another one of those first time movies. Sako, you said you've seen it long ago or many times.
Many times, yeah.
So I like this is going to be my first
You're the
opinion.
virgin.
I am. It's been a long time since I've been called that. I got 4 kids. That's the last word anyone uses. Me. That's where all my hair went.
All right.
Introduce theme.
Well, I do have a summary of or not a summary, but like a kind of a breakdown of what the movie was about. But
usually do it before we start writing, but you can go for it.
Okay. After saving the world in Hellboy 2004, humankind's strange protector, Hellboy, now struggles to cope with the challenging reality. And as if that weren't enough, the emergence of the elven prince Nuada only spells trouble. Now the powerful being is bent on retrieving the fragments of a mystical crown that commands the indestructible Golden Army, an omnipotent legion of clockwork warriors designed to seek and destroy humans. Before this unstoppable new menace, all hope rests on Hellboy and his squad of supernatural defenders. But they are no match for Nuada's invincible forces. Has Hellboy and his justice team bitten off more than they could chew? Dun, dun, dun.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure one of them has. 2 of them don't have teeth, so that's a big struggle. I don't think Abraham has teeth.
I don't think so either.
That's also another thing about doing this movie review is that this is a sequel, and very rarely do we do a sequel without having somehow previously discussed the first. I think this might be the first sequel that we've covered.
Mm-hmm.
I will say it's interesting. I took it upon myself to watch Hellboy prior to watching Hellboy 2 for obvious reasons I shouldn't have to spell out. There is very little that is contextually necessary from the first movie in order to understand the second. While it helps to have watched the first, as in many cases, it's not necessary. So if you want to just go in just because we talked about Hellboy 2 and you want to just go ahead and watch Hellboy 2, you'll be best served watching Hellboy, but yeah, you'll be all right. And a lot of sequels don't do that, but it's important to note that. Like, yeah, you can just go and watch this one. There's enough contextual elements in this story that you don't need the first, but that does come into play as I review it.
Excellent. Well, let's get back in to the theme. So within the theme, we have the message, the tone in the mood, and the backstory.
The backstory is Hellboy 1.
So as far as the message, I don't know. Love conquers all? ?
I think that's exactly. I think that works. Love conquers all ? Because
there's a lot going on.
There's a lot. There's a lot, and love is not just romantic love per se. There is the love between the prince and the princess. They're twins. They're brothers and sister. Nothing weird. They're just siblings, twins for that matter. And then, of course, Abraham falls in love with the princess. Hellboy has Liz. So it's like there's a lot of romantic love, but then there is the love for your people. The king was willing to let his people die if that was, because you get to a point where the king has to make a decision. The prince is like, I'm bringing back the army. I'm going to wipe out the human race. The human race doesn't care about us. And he's like, no. You can't use the golden army. You can't use the golden army. It's just wrong. If that means we fade out, that means we fade out. And it's like, wow, you love, it's like the greater good kind of thing. It's like he was looking out, the king was looking out for the greater good so much, he was willing to let his people die to save the not so great greater good. He's like, it's just not worth it. While in reverse, the prince loved his people so much that he was willing to take out everybody else to preserve them. It's the same extreme love that results into somebody being wiped out, but both in a sense are justified, because self-preservation is a natural concept. So to preserve oneself or one's family or one's people makes perfect sense. To look out for everybody else also makes perfect sense. So there is a really weird kind of cross there where you have to kind of evaluate, you know, what's the greater sacrifice in a sense. And I love a message that's not clear cut. If it makes you walk away from the movie and think, I'm down for that. I love a good story that's written that way.
How do you feel about it, Ren?
I completely agree with the love conquers all, because Hellboy also his love for humans, and which plays into everything he does pretty much, because he fights off, becoming what he's, fated to be.
Right.
The relationship between Nuada and his sister was interesting. Again, nothing funny going on there, but her sacrifice despite falling for Abraham, and taking her own life because they're connected to the point where one dies, the other dies.
One gets harmed, the other one gets harmed.
Yeah.
Like anything that happens to one happens to the other. If one gets a cut in the face, the other one gets a cut in the face. Even if they're nowhere nearby, it just happens. They're just connected.
Yeah. The her basically alignment with her father, who is played by Roy Dotrice, who I actually knew from he was with Ron Perlman in the original Beauty and the Beast TV series. He was father. So it was cool to see him. Yeah, and cool to see him around again. But found family, love, I think those are the strongest elements of the whole thing.
Yeah, this is one of the movies that had the strongest, most cleanest, clearest message, because there is that loyalty of family, and then there is that loyalty, you said, like your found family, like you guys are for me. Chosen family, the people who you just become close to, and how they look just alike. They're very, when done right, there is no true separation. I know people who are closer to their found sisters or brothers than they are to their their genetic ones. And this highlights all of that without being so muddled. It's not like the message is just being thrown in your face. It's the circumstance is happening pretty naturally. And the message still comes clear. We can all agree on what that message is. It was clear upon receipt. You walk away with that message. And it's not we choose one over the other. All variations of love conquers all are kind of expressed here. They're all kind of shown here.
And Hellboy and Liz.
Yeah.
That storyline.
How even though it seems rocky, you can still persevere. If not, sometimes you let the world burn for the one you love. Sometimes you have to sacrifice yourself to save the one you love. Sometimes you have to sacrifice family for what you believe in. That doesn't mean go murder your family. But
Yeah, none of that. Nope.
my lawyer says it's important that I tell you that. No, but it shows that like this gets highlighted in so many different ways. And I appreciate the fact that the movie didn't pick one and say, that's the correct one.
Yeah.
All of them had valid reasons for doing what they did. The self-sacrifice was a valid reason. Doing what you had to do to save people you like and don't like, the people who don't like you, even more so, because Hellboy gets exposed. The organization is secret. And despite being seen and popular, which is kind of what he wanted, he realized that he just gets judged and that the people he's been out here protecting don't give a damn about him. In fact, now he's just a subject of their ridicule, and they don't appreciate him. He doesn't feel loved. He is not the loved celebrity he was hoping to be, and yet he still made choices and sacrifice for them because it was just the right thing to do in his opinion. So again, this is the longest we've been able to talk about a message on any of these movies, and I love the fact that it was that clean and it was that clear.
Yeah. Del Toro is an excellent storyteller.
Mm-hmm. I love his sketchbooks.
Yeah. As far as the tone and the mood, I mean, there was the romance side. There was also kind of like an action movie because
it's very much an action movie.
Because it's based on a comic book.
Yeah,
right?
It's clearly an action movie. The romance, as much as we've talked about it, it is not. It's not for. It's an action movie with a love story laced through.
Yes,
but it's an action movie through and through, absolutely. But I will say that one of the things that gets highlighted are relationships, because in this movie versus the first one had a lot of sacrifice. So you see a lot of this relationship already, but the relationship between Hellboy and Abraham, I love that little brotherhood. They are like brothers, and I love that for them. It is expressed as much. The way they interact is just really refreshing. It's where a lot of the comedic relief comes from, is their interactions. And because Hellboy is kind of a smart ass, and that's kind of where you get. I'm being kind. He's kind of a smart ass, like I'm kind of a smart ass. But the point here is that like it's nice. It's their interaction. It also an expression of love. It's just refreshing from like a comedic standpoint. It takes from the action and the gloom of all these people being like destroyed, hunted down, or whatever. It's just a nice little pullback from it. It was cool, and I love that tone switch where it stayed in theme, but didn't like stay the same. That makes sense.
Yeah. And Abraham drinking was hysterical.
A giant drunk fish man. It's great.
Yeah, that was funny.
Drunk fish people. Like, didn't think I'd say that today, but
sure.
He's one of my favorite characters.
Agreed. Yeah, he's one of my favorite characters too.
We'll get into a little more regarding characterization when we get to that.
That's a whole star. It's a whole star.
It's a whole star. Backstory. I kind of gave the summary.
Yeah.
And like the back matter, basically. And is there anything else about the story that you want to? Because there was a lot going on.
There is a lot going on, but ultimately, what you've read is pretty much all you need to know. There is this it's read in the beginning, which I'm gonna get into that when we get into writing, that opening scene. But there is essentially like these two races of people, like two or three really, but like essentially there's like what would be like the mystical people and then the humans, and humans had like this giant stick up their asses surprise, and they were trying to take over everything. So to stop that, the king was just like, all right, fine, golden army, indestructible, control them with this crown. And so he totally fucked them up. And then they're like, hey, stop that. And he was like, all right, fine. But the king was just like, all right, that's a little bit too much. That's a little bit much. All right, I won, but I didn't have to go that far. So it's like, all right, cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to store the golden army. We're going to have a truce with the humans. I'm going to break this crown up into 3 pieces so no one can get a hold of all the pieces. And
which never works.
Never works. But that's like scattering the Infinity Stones all over the universe. That worked out. But that's essentially, that's the backstory. And the legend was that someday the prince would come back out of exile to free of his people from this agreement, basically. And this movie is when that happens.
Indeed.
I think the backstory was solid. Yeah, I think the backstory was solid in that it you don't have to watch the first movie because they give you enough elements in snippets without doing flashbacks. They just show, don't tell, and they discuss it and bring it forward. And I had seen the first one, but I hadn't seen the first one in a long time, so that actually helped me to remember, but just the opening sequence that you mentioned where they give you the backstory, I loved that they did kind of the brothers in Harry Potter when they did the story where it was like a puppet show. It was a different, like, shadow puppets and different
oh yeah, sure,
animation style and everything.
Yeah,
I loved that they did that in this to set it apart and really get your attention. But yeah, that's more of the writing category, but I like
like I said,
I liked the backstory. I liked the backstory. There was no confusion. There was no.
It was clean. It was shared in it was presented in a logical way. It was a clean story that was straightforward. You didn't need a bunch of extra knowledge of mythology, because some of these backstories, they make sense if you understand mythology. And then when they go to try to explain it to you, it's like, it sounds like that's when you're trying to be a smartass without being a smartass to your friend who should know but doesn't. It's like, you didn't take Greek mythology in college? Well, Apollo was the god, and like, you don't. It sounds like you're being a dick. None of that was in play in how this backstory was presented. This particular storyline didn't need Hellboy 1, so there's nothing in Hellboy 1 that leads to this, ultimately.
Except for Liz and Hellboy.
As far as like the actual plot of this legend.
Plot.
As far as the legend,
it's a standalone, and then a standalone, but
it's like a standalone movie in the same universe kind of thing. Where if you've watched the other universe, it's kind of like a Marvel movie.
Well, it's a comic book.
Exactly. Actually, I think Hellboy isn't that Marvel? Yeah. So it's like a Marvel movie, where you can watch these movies on their own without watching the rest of the MCU. It just helps if you watch the rest of the MCU. So if you watched Hellboy 1, it helps for this. But there, again, as I mentioned before, there's nothing you actually need in that movie to watch this. As far as the actual plot point of this movie, everything is presented and contained here. It's given to you very clean in the opening scene.
It's actually Dark Horse.
Is it Dark Horse?
It's Dark Horse. And probably it's It's Star comic book.
That checks. But no, yeah, I'm good. Like the backstory was clean. It was presented well. Like I said, I'll talk about the opening scene more when we get into writing, but I'm good on theme.
Yeah, Mike
I think
stuff is good.
So
Ren, you had something?
Oh, I was going to say Mike Mignola. I love his art style.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of the comic kind of acted as like a storyboard.
Mm-hmm.
Probably. Logically, it would.
Yeah.
Yes, but not always.
Logically, though. I mean, if you're gonna follow source material, might as well use source material.
Mm-hmm. The
source of my torment in the other room.
So a star for theme.
Yes, I would absolutely give it a star for theme.
Definitely.
It's actually probably the most deserving star for theme.
Most deserving star, yeah.
Because a lot of the movies we've watched, there is a theme. Good luck trying to figure it out. This one's clean. This one's clean and clear. Clear, under control.
Yep.
All right.
Stole that from some.
Let's move on to production.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a Del Toro movie with a bunch of budget. So what does he do with the budget? It is
Sci-fi
well spent.
Hellscape. Sci-fi hellscape.
Yeah. I mean, just the troll market alone. That just blew me away.
Yeah.
So in this category, we talk about the art direction, the makeup, the props, and the cinematography.
Right.
Let's talk about the art direction in these different settings. I want to save Troll Market for just a second. But we're revisiting the headquarters, the Bureau of Paranormal Research and whatever. 3 letters, I'm good. 4 letters in the abbreviation, I'm out. What do you think about how that facility is designed? Either one of you.
It kind of gave me a Men in Black vibe.
Yeah.
With that, and I like it's always that kind of thing is always very sterile and very, with the exception of Hellboy's room. But it was expected. It kind of played along with the trope of what that would look like.
So as far as the art direction, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to like how, because these are the reason I'm bringing it up this way is because these different settings. There's the troll market. There's where our final scene takes place, and then there's like the bureau. Everything else is kind of like generic cityscape or whatever. So I'm ignoring that. But the point I'm trying to like highlight is that the art direction in these 3 particular spots contrast so differently.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to highlight how different they were in contrast to each other.
Yeah.
Hellboy's room, Abraham's room.
That library is gorgeous.
I could live in Abraham's room. Just, I think Val and I both could. But having those very distinct personalities come out, flavoring those 2 rooms in the midst of this, very sterile environment. I loved that. I loved all the details. I loved all the, the library, the water tank in the library. I mean, this is so cool. Hellboy's is an OCD nightmare. Don't mind all the cats. The toothbrush got me. But just very, very distinct personalities in those 2 rooms as contrasted with the rest of it. And I'm trying to remember. I don't think we see Liz's room.
No.
Okay.
No, I think not in this movie. I think that was we kind of.
I think that was kind of the point, was that she was living in Hellboy. Yeah.
And that was kind of their thing. They get into a tiff.
Yeah, because I can remember
plot
her
that kind of plays the thing, but not really. Yeah,
kind of thing.
I just love the way it was designed. Particularly, you see Hellboy is just like a giant teenager. Abraham is sophisticated, and the rooms reflect those things. What about where our final battle took place, the chamber where they held the Golden Army?
Yeah, it was cool as hell.
Explain, talk about the contrast in those. If you love steampunk, this is the closing scene for you.
Yeah,
because it was created by a goblin. You know, like
clocks and gears. It was a bunch of gears, lots of gears.
Yeah, I mean, goblins, Harry Potter. Look at all the crazy bank stuff with the rail system and the insane locks, and which I loved. But seeing all the gears and all the inner workings and how they interacted with it, because mainly Hellboy was like navigating that and like showing up in different spaces because he was riding the gears.
Yeah.
But yeah, the production level on that was really, really cool.
It was kind of monotone in a sense, but the way it should have been. Everything was kind of golden brass, dark and
color palette.
steamy. Yeah, it was huge contrast from a similar palette as like Abraham's room, where you have like that red and gold, and then you have like red and gold, but it's clearly different. Lighting was utilized differently. A lot of this, of course, is going to be CG. There's not going to be a giant gear set built in the soundstage, but
oh man,
it was. I know you would love to play there, but there's just so much where you have a similar color palette, but it's presented differently in a way that makes sense to each space, and I enjoyed that.
Also, perfect moods for music.
Yeah,
the music is impeccable.
Oh yeah,
and excellent use of urgency and near misses and like really chilled moments, and even their choice in music during the beer drinking scene.
That was a good step away from the story. Now I want to take those two, which are very similar in color palette, and go to the troll market and let you guys discuss the art direction of the troll market, because this really is pretty spectacular, and I can see where if you were entering this world for the first time, it'd be incredibly overwhelming. Do you want to talk about the colors and the design of the troll market?
Again, as Ren put it, the Marrakesh sort of references, but
outdoor market, yeah, but indoors.
Yeah.
It had an outdoor feel, like concealed, obviously for protection and secrecy and the such, but it still felt like you were suddenly outdoor in one of those very, very tight Asian markets. Any Asian market, literally Indian market, Chinese market, those little, where you see those tight spaces where it's just enough space for maybe 1.5 people to maneuver through between the carts and such. Yeah. It's very tight and very closed. I thought it was a very good use of space. Yeah. Like framing wise, it was a very good use of space.
Yeah.
It'll lead you down the center.
3 that I think of. My top 4: troll market, real life, Epcot. 2 of my favorite spaces are the Mexico Pavilion, because they have an outdoor market indoors inside the temple where you walk in. They have the night sky painted, and they have all the market stalls and everything. and mariachi band and all that. And then there's also Tusker House in Animal Kingdom that you walk in to the restaurant, and it's an outdoor Moroccan market that all the stalls are different foods that you can go around, but it's indoors and it's painted to look, it's landscaped and set design and the whole thing like you're in an outdoor market. And I love stuff like that. So when I saw Troll Market, I was just giddy with all the different cultures that were represented, and they were clear and concise and very different from each other.
Yeah.
You could spot similar ones that, okay, that's this race, that's this race. Even just the people walking through, you could tell who was with who. This set design was immaculate. Very used future, nothing really, shiny and new. This has been around for centuries, and walking into that market real life, I would be vibrating out of my skin because I tend to, when I go to places, and was an architectural design major in my former life, and I'd be like sketching everything. But just all the little details is what got me.
So
Yeah.
how do we feel about now? We have to mention this because again, I didn't really think about it too much because I was already seen Hellboy. But we're not discussing Hellboy. We're looking at Hellboy 2. How do you guys feel about the makeup and the design of these characters? I thought the prince and princess, this whole facial thing was incredible.
It's very indicative of Guillermo del Toro. Like even the Angel of Death, which was
all the eyes,
which was very one, it references things like Sandman or even farther back into the Bible, that he was a seraphim, basically. But he being Del Toro, he is an expert character designer. And so he takes intellectual property and kind of puts his brand on it.
Naturally.
And I feel like he really succeeded in this rendition. And he turned down a bunch of other movies so that he could do this particular movie.
There's a lot of space for artistic creativity to be expressed in this movie. The obvious, I don't know how much, of course, is green screen and CG, but obviously for a lot of reasons, a lot of it is. But there's going to be a lot that's practical. Still is going to actually be on set to be interacted with. The whole thing just looks, it's wild in like the best way. Like it's almost
in the
to the point
best
where
way, yeah.
I feel like there's so much going on in this movie, story wise, artistically. We could almost do an entire episode per star. Thank goodness we're not doing that. Right.
But also the samurai guns a la John Woo, like that tickles me pink.
It's a stunning movie. Visually.
The Troll Market was actually a set.
Yeah.
So
you can tell because there's a lot of
a lot of it was practical set.
Because you have to understand, like you have to interact with it, right? And it is, as we kind of discussed in the Frighteners, when you have a CG element that an actor has to interact with, that gets tricky. And that was kind of part of our judgment when we were looking at how the ghost and the humans were interacting in the Frighteners. I'm like, there's like 10 years difference between Back to the Future and the Frighteners, and we did it in Back to the Future because there was a lot of an actor having to play older and or younger versions of themselves, interacting with each other, like the part where Doc Brown has to pass himself a tool. You know, those kind of things are never easy to do. They don't get any better. It's just, it got a little bit better comparing Back to the Future to the Frighteners to like Sinners, because you have Michael B. Jordan interacting with himself. But it's the point of all that is you need practical effects. I don't care how good your special effects guy is, you need practical effects, especially if there's something that your characters, your actors are interacting with. There's a big fight scene in this troll market, huge fight scene in this troll market, and there has to be the physical interaction of things. So remember that, filmmakers. Take the time to pre-production, build your things, find someone to build your things, make your things look good.
Set designers, yeah.
It means a lot. It matters. Don't just be like, oh, we can put that in the background in CG. Go get a ladder, hang a vine. Sure, you can click a thing and drag vines in the After Effects. No. Put a ladder on get a ladder, hang some vines, green string, and some fake leaves. Figure it out. Get up there and do it. It matters. It matters. It matters. One of the reasons why that troll market stands out to everyone so much is because so much good work was done. The practical effects in this movie, in conjunction with the special effects, creates just a very stunning visual movie. It stands out.
Amen. Yeah, the
Amen.
Hello.
Copper Knight is my real life husband who doesn't know. That was like, I want the panels, the plywood walls they use for the troll market. Yeah. One of the other things too was the princess went and saw the one keeper of records or another library. I loved that he had like a city on his head. He had the character had like this buildings and everything on his head. It was just really cool.
So
each library.
Definitely kudos to the practical effects.
So all the effects people.
Very much so.
All the effects people.
Because they didn't stand out.
They did their homework.
They did. Mm-hmm. And it didn't stand out in such a way that it's obvious. Oh, that's just CG. Oh, that's just a real. Everything works seamlessly, which is the finding the right people to do the right job and everybody working together for the same common goal.
Mm-hmm.
Which, if you're on any set or any collaborative anything, everyone kind of has to be on the same page.
Yep.
Cinematography. I thought the transitions were lovely, better than most.
This is 2008, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And which is why it seemed so seamless, right? It is the transitions between scenes was literally like a passing of time. And
it was done so well. So well. I don't know if people really understand how important good transitions are in any kind of video media that you do.
Mm-hmm.
Like to go from so we're pretty static, right? We're not going from this to anything else. But if we were, that's going to matter on how you cut from A to B, especially if you're going from like A to B back to A back to B. And that can be anything from like a scene where you have all three of us sitting in a room, and then you go to me talking, cut to Ren talking, cut to Sako talking. You know, how you come back to the three of us. You know, all the transitioning from scene to scene, cut to cut. It's really, really important and an important thing to master. And I think that's kind of the point that Sako was highlighting. Make that work. Do the due diligence. Focusing on even those little things like the type of transition, those choices, the transitional choices. What was a wipe? What was a cut? All of that mattered.
I think it's funny because a lot of people are getting into, you know, it's trending to do transitions on Reels and TikTok. They're, you know, rampant. There's challenges and that kind of thing. But I don't think a lot of people think about that in relationship to actual filmmaking. Like it's a
Right.
The
different
story that
creature.
those can tell. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
like
can
a
tell a
different creature.
story that you can do, like Sako was telling, like utilizing transitions to highlight the passage of time. And okay, so we've traveled from here to here. That took time. I don't have to put or design an entire scene to go between A and B. The type of transition.
Unlike Nosferatu 1979, right? So
Look, I don't already talk about that movie. Don't let me talk about it again.
There were no transitions.
You know what? No, wait, hold on. Since you brought it up.
Uh-oh.
I'm gonna be nice. In particular, in Nosferatu, the vampire, because there's like 4 or 5 movies called Nosferatu. In the one that we reviewed, to show the passage of time was important for the story. To show that he had a long way to go. You saw him traveling through different environments in order to get there, wandering, basically. That part was fine. It was a little bit longer than necessary. But again, it was a very slow burn movie. And he was trying to highlight, I have a very long way to go. You don't get that if you just automatically cut, unless you like cut to like longer facial hair, dirtier clothes. The actor is worn out and tired. There are ways of doing it. And when you see those kind of changes or transitions in movies, that's what's happening. They don't want to film all the extra stuff. And in that case, Nosferatu could have like lost like 20 minutes at least.
Yeah.
I digress. I've ranted enough about Nosferatu.
Go back.
Nobody's challenged me on that one.
Therapy
for a vampire.
in the cards. Yeah.
Therapy for the vampire is there's still a challenge on the table. We're coming back to that. Mark your calendars for December. It's coming. But
it's coming.
Go back and watch the old silent, well, not really silent, George Méliès and his transitions on things and how he showed time, like traveling to the moon or traveling to, you know, George Méliès. You can see if you watch the movie Hugo, based on the invention of Hugo Cabret, it's which Craft Paper Muse is going to have a thing on George Méliès coming up, Automata, I think. But his transitions on basic, it's the equivalent of us using our phones to make a film now. What he was doing back then was groundbreaking, and the attention to detail and how simple it is to use transitions for that and be able to, you know, there's no excuse that we can't do it now.
It's everyone's trying to do either the thing that everyone else is doing or try to go so far away from that thing that everyone is doing. So people, you kind of get lost. It's kind of a thing.
Well put. Well put.
You good, sir?
Yeah, I ran out of water, so. So do we feel like it deserves a star, the production?
Yes.
I would. Can you imagine? No, absolutely not. you imagine all that babbling we've done about the art direction and how spectacular it looks, and then be like, fuck production. No, it sucked. It was god awful. No star. No, again, like I kind of mentioned this again when we were talking about this before we started. Is Hellboy my new favorite movie? No, not in the least. But it was done well enough that I enjoyed it, and I'll watch the third one, even though it has nothing to do with anything we're doing work wise. And it was a good movie. You know, will I rush out to the theaters to see a brand new one if it comes out next year? Probably not. But it's good, and it's still visually stunning. And I think that's one of the important things to remember for everyone watching. When you watch us or watch any other review, this is just our thoughts on how we've chosen to categorize the movie. You should watch the movies yourselves to gain, have your own opinion. Just because we love something doesn't mean that you will. Because we hate something doesn't mean that you will. I think every movie that we have discussed deserves a fair shot. And sometimes, while you may not enjoy the movie itself, you can still appreciate the work that went into it. And I think that's the message that I like to give when we do these reviews. Like, you can still appreciate the work that went into it. Even the movies that we have destroyed on this. Go find our review on Mousetrap. Go ahead. Trust me. You'd rather sit through our review of Mousetrap than actually sitting through Mousetrap. So we can appreciate the work that was done. Mostly.
Mostly.
that was it's a review that we've already talked about. So go back and watch it. Go back and watch all the reviews. Find Mousetrap. It's a fun one. It's a fun one.
Pre-1990, we've lost something in film since then, and when I watch movies on a 4K TV, the film looks strange. Mm-hmm. Partly because it's going from film to 4K, and there's only so much. So it looks like it was done on the BBC, basically.
We still love the Brits. We still love the Brits.
We still love the Brits, but it's a very specific style of cinematography. And when transitioning from the sorry, my brain is here and yet not.
Happens to me all the time.
Every day.
Every day.
But no, the thing of the point you were getting at is things have changed when you look visually, and from analog film, which is actually physically on film, talking 8mm. It's kind of like looking at a picture that we took back in like 1990 with a 35mm film camera that we had to go to Walgreens or Rite Aid to get developed in an hour if we're lucky, versus taking a picture on your phone that's 4K or 1,000,000 megapixels or whatever we're doing nowadays. And it's like there's so much more detail in the picture, almost to a point where in some cases there's almost too much detail. In some cases, like you're getting too much information where it gets distracting from the story in a sense. And I think a lot of that in conjunction with a few other factors, of course. I'm babbling while Rain gets her thing back together. I think there's something in that. I think there's something in Lost. Not only that, but you think about movie making pre-1990, Back to the Future, for example. Back to the Future, compared to any movie made today, it's going to look a whole lot different. The colors are going to be more vibrant. And with special effects, you can do that even just in the background, just with your VA, post-production. You can do that in post. You can change the color grading of things. You have so many other options now that we've become more familiar with because of things like social media content making. And I think that's the other thing, content creation and the technology of like modern iPhones and and just the different things that are available. Editing software like CapCut, things like that. None of this stuff is sponsored. I don't like Apple, but if Apple wants to give me some money, I'll take it. But
I have an iPad, but I won't use an iPhone.
Dig. Oh, so you're back. I just want so I can stop my babbling now.
Yeah, it was the same. My audio went for a second, and it was like I can't hear you.
Right. I just want to give you time, but no. Basically, to address that, I think that's some things. We're getting too much information in some cases. I think people are becoming more familiar with it, and so as familiar as the populace has become, filmmakers are now trying to make their stuff look different. It's like how me making a movie on, if the three of us got together in a field and make a quick movie, Hollywood doesn't want their movie to look like our movie. You know what I mean? As much as we're trying to make our video look like their movie. So now they're trying different things and doing different things to separate. Because with the access to filming equipment, lighting equipment, and everyone getting this practice on social media and such, film creation has got to step up and make their things look even better without having to do the natural, well, we'll just make things look like the way they used to and revert. We're in a very interesting transition when it comes to the visual arts in filmmaking. We're in a very interesting
and the tools that professionals are using, it's like any art. It's not a matter of what tool you're using. It's a matter of how you treat the content that comes out of what you've made.
There are some tools do matter. Some tools do. The kind of camera you use can have an effect. Now, obviously, cinematographers will be the first ones to tell you what you do with the camera. Not everyone can you can't just go buy a $1 billion camera and give it to just some humdrum person and expect a Hollywood movie. For it. Right. You can't just give the fanciest camera to anybody and expect Hollywood quality. You also can't, but you can give a professional who has been studying photography and videography for years, you can give them subpar equipment. You still can only get so much. Like I said, you can only get so much information as the old technology. A 35 millimeter camera can only do so much compared to 12 megapixels or whatever. There is going to be something in just comparatively.
Sorry, there's lag.
Yeah, just comparatively. Just all I'm saying is tools do matter, but they are not anywhere as far as a replacement for skill.
Yes.
I have a great camera, but I'm not a photographer like Sako. So
yes. And I make videos, like quite a bit. So
there's a reason why this is my only visual podcast.
On par with what Popper Knight was saying, is I think the 4K, though, in some cases has wrecked the suspension of disbelief.
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah. That depends. I think it depends on what's being filmed. But generally, that hyper realization, the hyper real that he was referring to, that does come with the super clarity. Because sometimes, and maybe it's because I'm old and my vision's fading, but I think hyper realization that's presented to you on screen super clear versus what you can see. I don't see in 4K. I'm old. I'm wearing glasses right now. I don't see in 4K. You know what I mean? So sometimes I think that's what throws people off is the fact that when you used to watch a movie, particularly in the early 90s, pre-90s, things looked like they looked, with general house lighting. Things in 4K look super sharp, especially if you can't see super sharp. It's like, ooh.
Everything's in analog. Yeah.
That's weird. Yeah.
It can actually mess with your vision, though. They've done some studies and stuff with, especially people with vertigo. It'll kick in vertigo in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially like aspect ratios and stuff that people are messing around with that.
Yeah.
We see that in some things that we see in wrestling when they do certain shots presenting before certain matches, because everything comes back to wrestling. Y'all should knew that was coming at some point. Yeah, it's a whole thing. We'll save that
That's
for
a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, maybe when we have the Panda Talks or Panda Chat. I forgot what your podcast was called.
Coffee with Panda.
There you go. I knew there was coffee involved.
Yep.
We'll talk about it then. I'll come down for that show. How about that?
Okay. So on to writing. We talk about the dialogue, the plot, and the pacing.
We're already an hour into this, so I'm not going to speed through, but I'm not going to do the typical thing I normally do for writing. We've already talked about the story and the plot, but I will talk about the opening theme because I've been talking about wanting to talk about the opening scene. So if I may.
Absolutely.
Go for it.
I didn't like it. I didn't like 12-year-old Hellboy, or however old he was supposed to be. I didn't like the effects for him. And
actually a woman, like a 38-year-old woman who played childhood Hellboy.
I didn't like any of it. And it wasn't the acting per se. There was something weird about how, and it's a monster. It sounds ridiculous when I say it like this, but there was something off-putting about when childhood Hellboy talked and his teeth didn't move. Like, that's weird. Like, it was visually weird. Like, you almost feel like you were watching someone talk behind the teeth. That part I didn't like it. It was too flat. Something in Hellboy was too flat. His features aren't exaggerant anyway, but it felt flat. And then the way it was the backstory was presented, while the story presentation was clean and clear, in a way that we can retain the story while watching the movie, so we get an idea of what's coming, what's happening. It's like, oh, we're going to tell it like a childhood story. Of course we do, which is kind of cliche. And I'm like, we could have done better. Also, the presentation did not lend to the rest of the story. There was one part, only one, where I noticed Hellboy remembered being told this story as a child. And it was just one of those throwaway,
oh, we did this once. We got,
and that was it
somewhere.
Yeah, and that's all it was. And I'm like, okay, honestly, you could have just told the story in an opener, like just done an opener where we told the story. Didn't need the whole childhood Hellboy. You didn't need the whole, before the story told before Christmas, waiting on Santa to come through your pipe, whatever. Because he didn't have an actual chimney. Okay, it's like, I feel like there was a lot done in that scene that did not need to be done in that scene. Like, we go into a telling of the story. You mentioned the unique animation of the telling of that legend. Could have just done that.
Yeah,
we could have just done that. And I think that whole
the relationship between him and his father, I think, though, they were trying to get across, but
and I didn't even get that.
I agree with the him watching the old cartoons and that kind of thing. Yeah, but the costuming on that part, I agree. But as far as the writing, though.
Yeah, but did it? And again, I'm thinking of it as a story, as a script, a scene that was entered. Did it need to be that scene? No. Did we need to do that scene? No. Was it kind of pointless because it didn't tie back into anything else? No. You would use a scene like that if it's like, hey, I have a very special book, and this is a thing from that special book. Hold on to this book. You're going to need it one day. That's the kind of time that you would do a story scene like that. None of that was never necessary. You're going to do special animation, which was good animation, to tell the story anyway, then just do that. If you just do that, the focus is then on the animation, and we don't have to be distracted by the really bad costume design in that particular scene. And I highlight that scene separately and not mentioning it before with like props and makeup because it really only happened in this scene. The rest of the movie, the costumes and the makeup and the props, everything looked great to me. Abraham's costume is the fucking dopest. Yeah. He's the best looking character in this entire thing. But no, like that opening scene, I could have easily done without. We could have done that so many different ways, just creatively, as far as how to present that backstory. It did not need to happen that way.
So how did we feel about the dialogue? I felt like each character had a distinct voice.
Yes.
I agree.
Also, as far as the pacing, yeah, it's hero's journey, but it's, again, it has Del Toro's brand on it. You know, so how he handles the hero's journey, I feel like is more profound for American audiences.
Yeah.
Especially those of us who look for that sort of thing.
Yeah, I didn't mind the pacing. There was a lot there's a lot happening. If you think more I know this is less horror. The more and more we engage with the structure of things. But there's a lot happening. Not only is this a sequel, so you have to make references to the first movie to stay in franchise, outside just your characters. You also have to advance your characters. So you have your part one versions, and now you have to age them somewhat personality wise after the events of your first one. So there's some work that has to be done in the redevelopment of characters without losing them. And then with like the new guy, Johan,
voiced by Seth MacFarlane, by the way.
Awesome. Didn't know that. But you have to introduce like a whole nother character in a space, because now he's not just a regular agent, a regular human government agent. He's like a mist being that is in a containment suit. So now you have to like establish what he can do, because that is story fodder later. Him being able to come out of his containment and manipulate other things, that's actually story. So like that locker room scene, that was funny. Seems like a comedic aside, but it actually demonstrates what he's capable of doing, because that becomes a crucial part in the finale.
Chekhov's gun, yeah.
Exactly. So there's a lot of things that have to happen in order to tell the final story. Think of it like, for the people at home, think of it like this. There's that one final scene that you want your story to have, right? There's that conclusion, that confrontation between your good guy and your bad guy. Ultimately, if you're going to start there, you got to figure out how you got there. That's what the rest of your story is, right? So you have to make sure all of these things are in place so that that story is properly told in order, right? Would anyone disagree with me on that?
No.
That's how I've started stories. If I couldn't figure out how to start, I just start at the end and go backwards.
Exactly. Because you're like, all right, I'm here and I got protag, antag in setting. Great. What is setting compared to the rest of my story? Cool. Established setting. Antag. How does Antag get here? Does he live here? Is this his lair? Does he have to find this place? How does he find this place? That's laced within your story. Protag. How does Protag find out about this place? How does Protag get interact? What's the earlier interaction? Start there. So all these elements have to now be placed before it in the story. So when you look at all the things that are happening, when you look at all the way these things are happening throughout the story, understanding, because there's so much happening, that all of these things need placement, and then you have to interlace the emotion of the characters. You have to interlace the comedic like asides, and I think this movie does all of that very, very well. Like that is, it sounds like a lot, and that's because it is. It sounds like it's hard, and that's because it is. Not impossible, but difficult. It takes effort, it takes work.
I think the
That's
only
why,
reason it worked is because everybody, like she said, had a distinctive voice. You knew exactly, personality, how they spoke, how they interacted. And I think if that was muddled, it would have made everything a lot harder to track.
yeah. And it's again, and mind you, this is important to note because we're talking about a sequel. This isn't stuff that you had to watch Hellboy for. Helped. It absolutely helps. But again, you can just watch Hellboy 2 and you learn about Abraham's personality, Liz's personality, Hellboy's personality. You get a very quick interaction between Hellboy and Liz, and you get to understand their relationship. The drinking scene, absolutely funny to watch by itself. If you just want to watch that by itself.
It is, yeah.
The drunk fish man. Go for it.
Okay. And the music. Oh my gosh.
Man, it's a great scene to take you out of the moment for a bit, just a little bit. Not out of the story, but just out of that moment. And it's good to take someone out of the moment while keeping them in story. That scene, better, in my opinion, if I had to watch one scene over again, I'm watching the drunken fish scene versus the troll market. Troll market was great, but that was good character work. It was a good step aside. It was really fucking funny.
Yeah, he's one of Val's favorite characters too.
It's a fucking great character. Yeah. Yeah, that's all I gotta say. It was great. But no, those are important elements to consider. The pacing, because of all of that, might seem stretched or whatever, but it was necessary to introduce all the different elements needed for the finale.
Mm-hmm. And there was an economy of words with the dialogue. It was really Val's like, because he's the scholar. But the economy of words and clear, concise, to the point. Other than the Hellboy when he was little scene, everything was show don't tell. The dialogue was handled clear and crisp and clean, and in my opinion, and straight to the point.
It felt like people who already knew each other who don't have to say much.
Right.
Because there's enough going on that you can see that, like, you can do a lot with. You don't need words for that. You can already look, oh, he's annoyed or frustrated. So he doesn't have to say, I'm so annoyed. You don't need to add that.
No.
He rolled his eyes. That's all you have to say. That's it. There doesn't have to be words to accompany that. He rolled his eyes. Simple as that. Or he sighed. He walked away before this, he walked away before he talked. Things like that. There's things that you can, I mentioned this because you have to write this down in the script in order to display it on the screen in the movie. So just keep it simple. Keep it in beats like that. Let those moments that are being shown tell the story so your dialogue doesn't have to be muddled with a bunch of explanation. Like Ren said, crisp, short. It wasn't like just simple sentences. It was just...
It gets the point. And this helps when doing flash or short stories. Yeah. Especially with horror, is how concise the dialogue was, how well it actually communicated, and like
you can drag on.
Does it move the story along?
Yes. Most important. We cannot stress this enough. Make sure that whatever your characters are saying moves the story along. Don't just talk.
Don't pull.
You can have like this, like social, like I say dumb shit to my friends all the time. I say dumb shit to them all the time. But there are things that you can say that's like, funny side joke, back to the point. And those are good for comedic moments, comedic asides. But I think the point is like you can have drag on conversations. That's cool. You can say only what needs to be said, and that's fine. But Hellboy's dialogue is a familiarity kind of dialogue. It's the kind of speech as people who live together, things can go without saying. It goes without saying
Shorthand.
is an expression that we say all the time. Like, it goes without saying so and so would do this. It goes without saying so and so would say or do that. Those are the kind of things that it goes without saying, and they don't necessarily have to say, but they show their familiarity in the course of this, in the course of the movie. So it really does help move the story along further, particularly with how much story they're trying to tell.
Right.
And it's like the three of us have a particular kind of shorthand, if you want to that when we talk to each other. Everybody in Imaginarium that knows each other, we all have, it could be a year since we've spoken or seen each other, and we just go right back into it. That. So I like being able to see that on the screen.
All right. So a star for the writing ?
Yeah.
Yes. Overall, the story told is a good one. That's ace. The story is good. The story is clear. The story is clean. There are very few things that are just left out out of neglect or whatever. The story is straightforward. And for being a sequel, because again, this matters.
A
For being
standalone sequel.
For being a sequel in a franchise, you do not necessarily need to watch the first one. Will things make more sense if you do? Yes. I would personally suggest that if you're going to watch Hellboy 2, The Golden Army, watch Hellboy. Is it necessary? No. Will it help? Yes. And that is a sign of great writing. I'll go far as to say that's a sign of great writing, because you've already established stuff. You've trusted that. It's fine. But you didn't leave out so much in this one that someone who's just not being introduced is lost.
And how they introduce going into characterization, the segue, I would say, is how they introduced the Tooth Fairy, and how they shifted that. The Tooth Fairies are
that's my favorite scene.
I love them so much. I almost got a mock-it of one of the Tooth Fairies just to place in my studio somewhere.
To be honest, I'd have
people
one.
and change it in locations. When
I would love to have like a little bust, like a little model of a Tooth Fairy.
Yeah,
they were
cool.
Vicious little creatures. I like that monster better than I like the creatures from the first Hellboy.
Yeah.
So within characterization, we talk about the casting, we talk about the consistency and evolution of the main character, and what was the POV. So it was a full star cast, expertly done, as far as evolution, Red starts to second guess his investment in mankind. There was definitely Red is it's a nickname for Hellboy.
Because he's red.
Because he's red.
For the people who haven't seen the movie, I just thought it.
Well, there was plenty of spoilers, but
yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, like, we haven't called Hellboy Red, so I'm just clarifying this isn't a separate character. That's all it is. Right.
It is, yeah. And the POV, I feel like third person, omnipotent, basically, mostly followed Red.
Yeah, for the most part. It strives away, the point of view of the story strives away from Hellboy and the group enough to tell the other side of the story as they're leaning towards the eventual confrontation.
Right.
Show a little bit of the left, a little bit of the right as they're getting closer to each other. So it's pretty simple. Consistency and evolution, I think, is more pertinent in this movie. Again, I mentioned before, this is really important to note because it's a sequel. There is an actual point of evolution. Most of these characters have already existed in the first movie. So they have to evolve because they've gone through a thing in the first movie. So they had to evolve and change introduction to the second movie, on top of having to change from the beginning of the movie to the end. And I think there's a lot of these good lessons learned. You have to go through the fire to know that it's hot, kind of thing. And I think that's exactly what happens in this movie. I think everyone is changed in the right ways. And by right way, I mean appropriate for their character and what they've gone through. You know, what Abraham went through is different than what Hellboy went through. What Liz is dealing with, you know, as a character changes throughout. I think there's a lot of the tone is consistent, one, throughout the movie, but more importantly, from the first movie to the second. I think their characters are consistent. There's a logical story arc and character arc from the first movie to the second, and from the beginning to the second of the end of the second.
Yeah, Liz has a really strong arc.
She does, without doing much, which I think speaks a lot to the character writing and the way that's performed. Because what we haven't mentioned is Liz finds out that she's pregnant. She finds out that she's pregnant, and it's Hellboy's promise. And when you see the characters, don't think too hard about it. You don't want the process of Vincent.
It's like Vincent and Catherine and Beauty and the Beast.
Just trust us. It happens. It's like, okay.
Fade to black.
We're just here now.
Yeah.
She's pregnant now. Okay.
And dealing with her powers, and dealing with Hellboy, and dealing with
and prioritizing. Now she realizes she's going to be a mother. She has to now prioritize this baby from this mission, from Hellboy. Is this going to be, do I need this guy around to raise this baby? You know, it's all of these things that, you know, you would start to process in these moments, given the relationship that we've already established with these characters. So I think that she's probably one of the most profound characters in this movie. If you think about it a lot,
yeah,
because she has to do so much with so little.
Yeah,
you know, but it's still pertinent. She's not like a minimal character, but obviously she feels the need to step aside and protect herself a little bit more because she has this baby on board. And then, of course, there's Abraham. And I love the fact that this story has a lot more of him. He has a chance to shine a little bit more in this movie. It's just a fucking great character. It's a beautiful character. Look, right now, while you're listening to us, you listen, go look up, what was this? Abraham Sapien, the character from Hellboy.
Yeah.
Look that up. Just look at him aesthetically. Voice choice was great for that kind of character.
Who, by the way, was actually done by the actor for Hellboy 2. They kind of dubbed over him in the first movie with an external voice, but in the second movie they decided to use his own voice for
it's a great
the
voice for that character. It does matter. Voice choice does matter.
Bunch of stuff. He's done
it's a familiar voice too,
because of the fact that he's like a twig. He's gotten a lot of parts, but there was a theory at one point which they debunked it, that he was somehow tied to the Shape of Water movie.
And no, it's a different guy.
Yeah, but it wasn't. Different
Del
guy,
Toro again. Guillermo del Toro
Great
again.
movie.
But what happens when he does a romance movie? Oh, you know.
But,
so do we give characterization a star?
Oh yeah.
I'm just trying to look him up and figure out who did that voice. Doug Jones.
Yeah.
Doug Jones.
Doug Jones is the Thin Man, is the actor.
Who looks like Abraham Sapien. It just looks like him. It's too bright.
I know.
Okay. They look alike. Hold on, let's see if I can get this on here.
Well, it's like an animation. You can tell who the
My
voice
window's
actor
open,
is
so it's
usually
adjusting.
because of the fact that they will use them as reference. So, because of the fact that there's not much of this suit on him, it's gonna look like him because it's, you know, all the prosthetics and everything. They practically had to sew him into it.
Yeah. It was well done though. Like it was a great acting performance. Like the fact that we haven't gotten the Abraham movie, I'm a little upset. like don't make me have to fanfic this, please. Okay, don't make me do it. I can't do it justice.
Yeah,
you would have to read the comic book.
I would. I ain't got that kind of time.
He's 6'3" and 155 pounds.
Tiny.
Woof.
Yeah.
But perfect for like a Marine man.
Like anorexic skinny, like, and they can put him in anything. They probably could have put him in the C-3PO costume. I wouldn't be surprised if they did at one point.
All right, so we went through all 4 categories.
Stars for all.
And stars for all of them. So it was a 4-star movie.
4-star.
I'm glad I got to suggest this one. This is one of my favorites. And like I said, Luke Goss with the kata scenes with the sword. It's like, I want the sword because it's almost like the dual lightsaber kind of thing where it just...
Yeah.
That
was pretty dope.
Yeah. Excellently done. Thank you for joining us today. We talked about Hellboy II, The Golden Army, a la 2008. If you like this video at any point, I encourage you to actually hit the like button, do the things with the buttons. And if you want to catch our Friday show and our Tuesday movie reviews, you might want to subscribe and maybe even ring that bell in the off chance that YouTube actually notifies you that we go live.
Just do it because it's fun.
And we will... Oh geez, I actually have a sign off that I always forget.
We don't really have a whole one.
Like, and we didn't do music to start it, did we?
No, we don't. We kind of don't for the movie reviews.
Okay. So I was waiting for the dance from Moon.
Keep your light close and your monsters closer. Yeah.
We don't have theme song for this one.
We don't have a theme song.
Our theme song, titled theme song, where the lyrics are just theme song.
Indeed.
We'll record it one day. I won't.
This is the end of the song.
Give me stuff. I'll put it in Launchpad.
I'm not recording theme song. I'm not doing that. All right, maybe one day. It's gonna be a lot.